I have attempted to record this video 2 times already, so I really hope that you won't mind if we try to make this brief. I need a gift for my parents for Christmas. My mother has recently started her own business and is in need of a NAS. Not just because of the business, but also because she never gets rid of data. She has all of the digital photos she's ever taken on her hard drive. I think she has 6 or 7 different laptops that she's had over the past 10 or 11 years. And they're full of pictures. So, I figured maybe we can alleviate some of that space constraint. I hope you don't mind, but we're going to have to do things in reverse order here. As I said, I tried to record this twice. The previous 2 versions of this are going to be up on my Patreon just as, well, I don't want to completely waste my time. But we're going to make this quick, and again, it's mostly already built from the last attempt at this. So, we are using the same motherboard as our AliExpress gaming PC. Literally the same motherboard, just put into this chassis. I have a 350 watt flex ATX power supply. It actually has additional CPU 8 pins and 2 6+2 pins for a GPU. So it does have some surprising expansion options, even if we'll never use them. First things first on this wonderful machine, we're going to use 2 SSDs, 128 gigs each, to boot off of. It's going to be a RAID Z1. You can think of it almost like a software RAID 1. Hopefully that'll give it some longevity. Unfortunately, this case only supports one 2.5-inch SSD, so the other one we're going to have to get creative with. But I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue, assuming I can get it open. There we go. I have freed our boot disks. Just need to dig out the second. There we go. So, I think what we are going to have to do is one is going to have to live in the depths of this machine, just jammed under the front. Maybe. Just like so. Now this other one can be mounted somewhat normally, hopefully. Now it's designed to go in here. If I push this a little out of the way, maybe we can still do that. No? Maybe if I go this way. There. That will have to do. Now additionally, I've got this. Nothing special, but it's a 4-port SATA card. Because this motherboard only has 4 ports. I'm going to take that off. This motherboard only has 2 ports. I'm very tired. Suffice to say, 2 ports is not quite enough to operate a 4-bay NAS. So, in this goes. I got this for $9 on AliExpress. There are cheaper options, but this was one of the higher rated ones. And since this is going to my parents, I don't quite want it to be the absolute cheapest possible thing. I want it to at least probably work for longer than a couple of days at least. If this thing has any issues, I'll hear about it. Oh, I will. So, SATA card installed. Both SSDs installed. Now about these drives. In my previous attempt, I found not 1, not 2, but out of the 8 hard drives that I tried, 4 of them were bad. Originally, I was going to have 4 2-terabyte hard drives. 2 of those were bad. So then I sucked it up and got these 1-terabyte hard drives. 2 of those were bad as well. So, what I'm going to do is we're going to ditch hard drives altogether. Now, every year, I get a yearly bonus from my work. And I just realized this SATA cable is sticking up too tall, so that SSD cannot be mounted there. We're just going to jam it in on its side. Perfect. That'll work. Unfortunately, this build has been pretty cursed. My original plan was to do 4 2-terabyte hard drives. 2 of them were bad. That was fun to discover. So, I bit the bullet and I bought 4 1-terabyte hard drives. And you know what? 2 of these are bad. So, okay, I'm out, like, I think I paid $50 for all 4 of these 2-terabyte hard drives. I don't quite remember. The 1-terabyte hard drives, the 2 good ones I had lying around, the 2 bad ones, funny enough, I bought for $5 a piece on Craigslist. Supposedly working. At that point, I had decided enough was enough. I was going to buy brand new hard drives. And not just that, I'll buy 5. 4 for the NAS and 1 as a spare. Out of those 5 hard drives, which I paid $200 for, 4 were bad. So bad that they wouldn't even get detected by the BIOS of any system that I tried them in. So I contacted NewEgg and they informed me, "Oh, we're sorry you had that experience, but we didn't sell you those hard drives. One of our marketplace people did." So apparently, and I did not realize this until just now, NewEgg hardly sells anything anymore. They're just a generic marketplace like Amazon or eBay or AliExpress. So, contacted the seller. They apologized. I sent the 4 bad ones out, and supposedly they're going to send me 4 non-bad ones back, but I'm not super hopeful, and I don't think they'll arrive in time. So, my options being limited, here's what I'm going to do. I can't afford to buy new hard drives because my excess money was tied up in these brand new hard drives that were bad. But I do get a yearly bonus around the 20th. Now that is not enough time, especially around that time of year, to order brand new hard drives and have them arrive in time to build this and deliver it to my parents. So here's my plan. I will use my yearly bonus to go to Best Buy and buy a handful of 2-terabyte SSDs. Yes, Best Buy really overcharges, but it's kind of the best option I've got. Now, I can still make a video today because I bought 6 3TB hard drives for about $5 each. Now there is some bad news. 5 of the 6 3TB hard drives that I purchased are the Seagate Barracuda, specifically the model ST3000D M001. These have a ginormous failure rate, so we'll see. There was a class action lawsuit over those, so we will see if any of them work. But before any of this, before I throw drives in here, build this, and show you how to get things installed on it, let's go over some of our other options. In order for me to qualify the title of this video, which admittedly is clickbait, but it's true clickbait. In order for me to qualify that, I have to explain what the rules are for this build. Because the truth is, if you want the world's cheapest NAS, find yourself a PC in the garbage and you've got a NAS. You know, it could have an 80 gigabyte hard drive, and well, that's 80 gigs you can use. Throw Windows XP on it, limit it to your home network, and there you go. Done deal. But is that really a NAS? Does that truly count? If you're using it as a NAS, yes, it does count. But we have some rules. I wanted this to be fairly small, quiet, and it had to have these built-in drive trays. Now, there's also nothing stopping you from taking one of these PCs you find on the side of the street, popping a couple of these in there, you know? There you go. Removable hot swap bay. They also make them for IDE, just for your information. But does that really meet our demands? This is a little closer. I have yet to use this in a build, but this is 6 2.5-inch SSD slots that would fit in a single 5.25-inch bay. It's a pretty nifty little machine here. I like it. I paid a lot of money for it. Well, for me, I paid a lot of money. I think I paid $45 for that. But still, it's just not quite what I was looking for, and also, originally I had hard drives in mind, so this might work better now that I'm thinking SSDs. But I digress. This ticks all of our boxes. It's small, quiet, and thanks to the motherboard, very power efficient. This is also the absolute cheapest NAS case that you can get your hands on, realistically. I paid $75 for this case. On AliExpress, you can find them all day, every day, for about $40. But that's with another $50 or $60 in shipping. I got this for $75 with free shipping. That's about as good as you can get. And even if you didn't count the shipping, this is still the cheapest true NAS case with hot swap bays that you can find. So, let's move on to software, because there are a few caveats about this motherboard that need to be brought to light. The first big problem, I'm going to go ahead and swap the hard drives while I speak. The first big problem with this motherboard has to do with, okay, I guess I need a smaller Phillips. Secure boot. Now, some of the people that are watching this video will already know where this is going. You cannot turn off secure boot on this motherboard. This means that certain types of Linux will not install or in some cases won't even run. This also causes issues for certain types of virtualization. So this motherboard, although really, really cheap and really good, is not perfect by any stretch. So this means that my NAS software of choice, which is FreeNAS, I believe they've changed their name to TrueNAS, cannot be used. FreeNAS was also forked to Sigma NAS. That can't be used either. There are a few other really popular ones out there that cannot be used, but rather than tell you an entire list of things that don't work, I'll just cut to the chase. Open Media Vault does work. So that is what we are going to use today. Now there are some problems with running Open Media Vault. It doesn't have everything built in that I want to be built in. For example, LVM has to be installed separately. That's Logical Volume Manager, or you can think of it as a way to implement a software RAID. But that's all one-time setup problems. Once it's done, it's done. My parents will never have to bother with it again unless something fails, which, since I'm using brand new everything, shouldn't fail. The only part of this PC that's used is the power supply, and even then it's not even really used, it's new old stock. So, once I get these hard drives swapped out for the hopefully good, but probably not, 3 terabyte hard drives, we'll go ahead and get Open Media Vault installed, and I'll walk you through that process. First things first, I suppose I should mention this. These hard drive sleds do have provisions for SSDs, so I won't have any issues when it comes time to install them. And there isn't really anything fancy about, well, any of this. This is pretty bog standard for a hard drive sled. A little chunkier than you'd find on a Dell or an HP, but still perfectly serviceable. Anyway, the other 3 hard drives are going to be more the same for this, so I'm going to go ahead and cut to when all of those are installed. There we go. Yeah. Now, for those of you who think a little too hard, no, releasing this video is not going to spoil the surprise. My parents do not watch my YouTube channel. I don't even think that my mother knows I have one. So, time to bring up some of the bad things about this case. It is extremely hard to work in. I mean, look at how much space you have between the hard drive cage and the motherboard. It is extremely limited. You can't even use a normal CPU cooler. You have to use a single U CPU cooler from like a server, or you can't fit anything, you know? Good stuff. And since this power supply has all these really awesome extra cables, that makes it even harder to work in. Yeah! So let's go ahead and try our best to tuck all this stuff in. Kind of reminds me of the shuttle form factor. Only shuttle has a somewhat proprietary motherboard. It is not ITX. This is ITX. Nope. Nope. Hard to get this in. is going on here? Oh, one of the cables I was talking about. It's stuck. Damn it. Back of the case now. Okay. Gotta do something. What a pain in the butt. I think we're good. This is so hard. Also, I forgot to mention this. These plastic thumb screws, when they come from the factory, are extremely tight, and they're also not a standard type of screw. So don't lose these. Do not lose these. You cannot get the... You can't really replace these super easy. You'd have to go to the hardware store. Although I do like the vaguely IBM color scheme with this very light purple. It's also very difficult to mount the Flex ATX power supply because this bracket is not the correct size. It's just a little bit too small. So these, the hole that the bracket goes into is too small. So these screws that hold the Flex ATX power supply in have to be installed after the bracket is installed, which removes the entire purpose of having that bracket to begin with. So, in theory, we are now ready to install Open Media Vault. Let me go ahead and grab my installer. I could use these front ports, but they're only USB 2, so I've plugged my installer into the rear ports. Now, I don't remember. Oh. Well, it sees all 4 of the 3 terabyte hard drives. That's nice. That's good. Open Media Vault. Perfect. Install. Oh dear. It worked last time. So maybe, let's go ahead and turn this off. This is a symptom of not being able to turn off Secure Boot. Let's try the front ports. If I have to, I could go back into the BIOS and try to bypass it as a one-time only thing. I think it does support that, but I really don't want to be messing around with Secure Boot all night. Install. Okay, that one worked. So, interesting. The back ports are disabled by Secure Boot. The front ports, however, are not. English. United States. American English. Now this is only USB 2, so keep that in mind. Additionally, we are still running a single 8 GB stick of RAM. We only have single channel on this board. So there are quite a few performance limitations. My mother won't care about any of these. All she will see is, oh hey, more storage. You will want this to be online when you install it. At the very least, you want it to be plugged into your local area network. That way you get DHCP. So, host name, Open Media Vault, that works for me. Domain name, local, works for me. Root password. I hope you don't mind, but as this machine will actually be given to my parents, and there is a strong possibility that it will be put online, I was not going to show the root password. So, we are in the Central Time Zone. This is in reference to the USA. More than one storage device detected. Yep, that's fine. Force UEFI? We're gonna go ahead and just force UEFI. Yeah, it's only gonna have one operating system installed. So let's see. Can I select more than one? No. Maybe. I would like to use both, but that might be one of the limitations of Open Media Vault. I'll have to look that up later. If I find out that I made a mistake somewhere, maybe I have to do the advanced installer. But if that's the case, then I'll go back and reinstall it. But for now, we're just going to continue. There shouldn't be any more questions at this point. We should just be install and then use. So I will be back when this is finished. Well, it turns out there is not a native way to install to a RAID 1 or even just a striped array during setup. You'd have to have a hardware RAID for that. You can, however, install Debian itself, which Open Media Vault is based on. You can install Debian itself, which will prompt you for a mirrored setup. And then you can configure Open Media Vault, but that is far too much effort. I don't care. Honestly, a single SSD is fine. They're brand new. I highly doubt we will have any issues. Now this is asking us about the location for the package manager mirror. We're going to choose United States, Debian.org, blank for the proxy because we're not using a proxy. And here I thought we were done. This installation is taking forever. Alrighty, installation finally complete. At this point it should either automatically reboot or ask us to reboot, or it could configure updates. That's not what I expected it to do after it said installation complete. But we'll give it just a moment and see what happens. Looks like an automatic reboot, so we're going to go ahead and remove the installation media here. And now, I believe we should be able to move on to the network setup. And here we go. At this point, what you're going to want to do, this address here, put that in your web browser, and you should be able to navigate to the web portal for your new NAS. Let's go ahead and do that, and I will show you how to get it set up and configured for a Windows computer. That's what I'm going to show, because that's what I'm going to configure for my mother. Okay, so I'm just using Firefox here. We've navigated to the address that was specified, and this was provided via DHCP. So, the default username is admin. Default password is Open Media Vault. You will want to change those, and I will off camera. Okay, so we are in to our little machine now. Now there's a few things that we want to do. Somewhere here, plugins, there we go. We want LVM, this one right here. Install, yes. Well, that's interesting. Try that again. What is going on? Let's try this one. I hope that wasn't picked up by my microphone, but someone drove by very quickly, and their spirited driving was a little loud. Now this one here, the MD, is not quite the one we're looking for. Oh, there we go again. I think it's time we head back to the physical system and see if there's something waiting for us on the desktop. Okay, we're good to go. All I did was update the system. So, you know, fun. Yeah, good stuff. Anyway, so let's go ahead and set ourselves up a volume. Actually, first, what? What was that? What? Okay. Wait a minute. Three of the 3 terabyte hard drives are not showing up. Let me reboot the system real quick and see if they pop in. Actually, let's check file systems. Nothing? Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and reboot real quick. I'll be right back. Uh-oh. Rebooting, and it looks like we've got a couple of bad hard drives. Not unexpected based on the discs that we're using. They were only $5 each, and they are specifically these ones that are... Well, this one's even got an X on it. That's great. I am just so good at choosing hard drives, aren't I? Well, Great. I'm gonna let this boot into Open Media Vault. Looks like this one and this one are failed for sure. Yeah, great. What I'm gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and go into Open Media Vault. We'll let the system boot fully up. I'm gonna pull all the hard drives out of the front, and then one at a time insert them so I can figure out which ones are bad and which ones aren't. Then we will try this one, even though it has an X on it, and we will try this Western Digital one as well. If I can get 2 hard drives to work, I can deal with that. I will be back in just a moment. Well, I couldn't quite figure it out, but I have my suspicions. I noticed some really weird behavior, and I really didn't think I'd be doing this right now. I thought this would be a fast video. Alas, here we are. So here's what was happening. With one drive installed, doesn't matter which one, it would work fine and detect the drive. With 2 drives installed, I would get this weird error, but it would detect both drives, and Smart would pass both drives. With 3 drives installed, it wouldn't see the 3rd drive, and when I installed the last drive, all the drives disappeared for some reason. So, in researching the error, I found a whole bunch of Ubuntu problems from like 2008, and Ubuntu is based on Debian, if I recall correctly. So it is the same kernel, it's just like a lot newer. So, back then, it seemed to be compatibility issues, not necessarily failed hardware. So what I'm going to do is I'm taking this cheap card out. It's a pretty standard quad-core SATA 3 card, supposedly. And I'm going to put in this nice 6-port card. The extra 2 ports are going to be wasted, but at the very least, I'm pretty sure this card works with Open Media Vault. So, we're going to go ahead and toss this in real quick. I'm really hoping I don't have to do a reinstall, but we'll see. I think my best bet here is to just get this locked in place. Oop, need the screw. Fire it up and just see what happens. Maybe we'll get lucky. I really hope we do, because it would be nice to deliver a functioning machine to my parents. Let's see what happens. Right around here is where I would get those errors. Okay. think we might be good. Let's go check. Let's see what we've got. Okay. Disks. Hey, we got all four. Okay, let's go to Smart Devices. Okay. This isn't great, but, you know, we're better. Let's see, show details. So the bad one, I'd like to expand this, please. Reported uncorrectable. I'm going to assume this is bad sectors. 2? That's it? Oh, that's nothing. Okay. No, devices. Let's check on the other one. Warning. Attributes. Come on. Oh, this one has reallocated sectors 24. Reported uncorrectable is 1. Again, that's not bad at all. That's fine. We don't start to worry until we see this in the hundreds, reallocated sectors. So we're going to go ahead and ignore that. And at this point, we can start setting up our array. Now, I want to do LVM, but we're going to go ahead to the old school method first because it's a little easier. RAID 5. Why will it? Oh, that's right. It's not going to let me do a RAID if one of them has been reported as failed by Smart. Which means... let's see. Can I get any information about this particular drive? I can't blink the locate light, so that kind of sucks. Serial number Z1F47HNM. I'm going to have to pull them until I find this particular drive. While I'm at it, I might as well see if I can replace the other one that has a warning. And we'll see where we go from there. Be right back. Okay. One thing I do need to do at some point is I need to label these 1, 2, 3, and 4. But when I do that, I actually need to plug them in one at a time to the physical card. Because the card has specific ports. You know, it'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, or something like that. I need to get that arranged in a way that makes sense. So once I label 1, 2, 3, 4, or something to that tune, then I can get a label and label these with the serial numbers of the drives. Because once you're in Open Media Vault and you see a bad drive, it will tell you the drive's serial number, not necessarily which port it's on. So I want this to be where if something like that does happen, my stepdad or my mom can just open this up, see which one is the bad drive, and pull it. So let's see if that... FYI, the one with the X, surprise, surprise, is bad. So I've taken the other bad Seagate out and put the Western Digital mystery drive in, and the caution drive is still in there. So I'm out of 3 terabyte drives. Not super upset. I paid $30 for the lot of them for 6 drives. That's really not bad. And again, these are not the drives that will be sent to my parents. They're going to get brand new SSDs. Let's see if this Western Digital drive is good. Well, it shows up, so that's good. Anybody who's using new drives really shouldn't run into this issue. Well, the Western Digital one has a warning. Let's see what it says. Won't tell me. Okay. Well, fun, I suppose. Either way, let's go ahead and set up a logical volume. So, let's see here. I can't select the Western Digital one. You know what? There's something that we're forgetting to do. Back to disks. Go to this. Wipe. And we're going to do this with all of our data disks. Yep, there we go. There was some... Oh, come on. What now? Okay. Try again. Try a different drive. Okay. So that tells me that this Western Digital drive is just not good. That's okay. Yeah, these ones are working just fine. So I guess we're going to go ahead and ignore the Western Digital drive. Close. So we'll go to LVM real quick, physical volume. Add these in one at a time. Okay, now we can go to volume groups and create a group. Doesn't really matter what you name it, but we'll add all three of these to the group. Okay. Now we can create a logical volume using that group. So at this point, if you had more than this many disks, you can drag the percentage of size you want. So we have an odd number of disks, which you don't really want for LVM, but it is what it is. So if I selected 50 and we had 2 drives, it would effectively be a RAID 1. If I selected 50 and we had 10 drives, it would, again, kind of be a giant RAID 1. Half the drives would be hot spares, half the drives would be data disks. Now in this case, since we're just demonstrating, we're going to use all of the space. Which I'm sure won't have any negative effects based on that one drive with a warning. So, we have a logical volume. At this point, we can go to File Systems. We'll do an ext4 file system. We'll use tank volume. Shouldn't take too long, but we'll go ahead and skip to when this is done. Alrighty, so that's done. Took a hot minute. So finally, how do we get this to show up in Windows? So what we need to do is go to Services. Now I am not super familiar with setting this up, but I do know we need to enable it. Enable inherit permissions. That should be good there. Oh, can't share. There we go. Apply changes. Basically, all we really did was enable it and select inherit permissions. It needs to be browsable, otherwise it will not show up. This is also taking a little longer than I expected, but that's probably just due to the size of the volume. There we go. So now we can do a share. Create a share. Select a shared folder. Ooh. Name. We'll do tank again. What am I missing here? Shares. Create share. Select a shared folder. Do I need to create a folder first? So I created a file system. I think I need to mount it. That looks correct. And at this point, we either need to create a folder to be shared, which I think is correct, so we're going to do that. Once it applies our changes, that is. I will say this is not a terribly fast system. Again, though, this only needs to be done once. Okay, we've gone ahead and mounted that. Let's go to folders, create, tank, select file system. There we go. I think everyone for read write. Apply these changes again. Okay, now we can go back to our services here. We should be able to create a share at this point. Select shared folder, tank, guests allowed, browsable, yep, inherit permissions. And I believe that's all we need to do. So, apply changes one final time. Okay, so in theory, I should be able to okay, in theory, now that we've got this set up, we should be able to just pop open PC, go to network, Network discovery is turned off. Okay, I need to get that done, I suppose. And there we go, open Media Vault. Perfect. Let's see the properties of Tank. I'm not sure if it'll tell us, but that's okay. Let's go to one of our video clips here. We'll just drag and drop it to Tank. Can I not? Let me double check my settings real quick. I can create a folder. Maybe I have to drag things directly into that folder. Yeah, let's try that. Tank, new folder. There we go. Not bad. This will be an awful lot faster once it's got SSDs. But hey, there we go. We've completed our task. We have a NAS. Once I have those SSDs, my parents will have one too. So the question is, what have we learned, and have we achieved what we set out to achieve? Well, we certainly learned that not all SATA cards are created equally, and hardware compatibility is still an issue with Linux, especially when dealing with cheaper Chinese hardware. As for have we achieved it, I'd say so. I will definitely be replacing this fan with a Noctua fan, and as I've mentioned many times, those hard drives will be replaced with SSDs. But overall, I'd say yeah, this is just about the cheapest NAS that you can build. I expected this to be a lot shorter than it was. I apologize about that. But, you know, I can't really predict these things. You take working hardware, and even if it all works, as we clearly found out, there are still sometimes other issues you can run into. So, thank you very, very much for watching. This is not my usual type of content, although I will be posting more stuff like this to my second channel, Low Spec Data Center. If you are genuinely interested in servers and what you can do with data center junk, well, eventually I'll post a video to that one. In the meantime, if you'd like to see more builds like this, not necessarily NAS builds, but more really cheap stuff, consider subscribing, leave a like on this video if you liked it, and let me know down in the comments what you would have done different. And I really mean that. Let me know what you would have done different. That will give me ideas on how to improve this before I give it to my parents. I'd like to thank my patron members for helping support me throughout this. And you will find the second failed NAS build video on there in a little bit. So yeah, thank you very much. I hope we all learned something. I certainly did. I'm getting something to eat.